to call you James or Jim around here because we have another Vincent. I said, well, that's quite all right. And from that day on, I suppose, throughout my working, I became known as Jim, although all through my period of time, from date of birth, I suppose, up to the time I went to work for the Panama Pacific Line, I was always known as Vincent. My grammar school diploma reads Vincent Guthrie. Now, I remember somewhat later on, just about a year later, I suppose, I sought my baptismal certificate for some reason. And I went up to the rectory at Holy Cross Church, where I was baptized and gone to school. And incidentally, the pastor of Holy Cross Church at that time was Father Francis P. Duffy, who was a chaplain of the 69th Division in World War I and became worldly known. But I spoke to the rector and I said, well, I'd like to have my baptismal certificate. I said I was born on May 15th, 1913. So he got the big book out for that year and he started to leaf through it. He said, I don't see anything in May here. But he must have had some patience because he went through month after month after month. And he came up to April the 3rd. And he said, now this is strange. Here's a James V. Guthrie, born April the 3rd, 1913. I said, well, what parents is shown? And he said, Michael and Harriet. And I said, holy cow, that's got to be me. And about a month later, I went down to the Board of Health, and sure enough, my certificate of birth reads James V. Guthrie. Now, how the mistake ever occurred, I don't know, but for 16 years I thought my name was Vincent J., and I thought I was born on May 15th, only to discover I was born April the 3rd, and that my name was James V. So that in getting the first job and being told that I was going to be called James, I little knew that my correct name was being used. But in any event, I was the office boy, and there was a lot entailed. I was always a busy worker. I never shirked on a job. And after handling the mail and doing little chores, running here, running there, whatever required of me, I used to sit down at a typewriter and practice typing. Well, I had been taught the touch system while in high school, and with a lot of practice, I became quite adept. Well, it was a group of fellas known as billing clerks, purpose being to type up bills of lading and manifests and all of the sort of documents that are used in the shipping business. And I wasn't on the job as an office boy much more than about a year and a half, when an opening occurred in the billing department. Well, the manager, of course, acquainted with my typing ability, suggested to, well, the top management, which was located down on 1 Broadway. Incidentally, I was with the Panama Pacific Line, which was a subsidiary of the United States Line, which again was a subsidiary of the International Mercantile Marine Corporation. That was a giant that owned several, as many as 6 perhaps, of the very, very prominent lines of the day, the White Star Line, Red Star Line, United States Line, Panama Pacific Line. So, getting back again, of course, to the promotion, I was making $50 a week when I started, and I was still at $50 a week when a promotion occurred. And I was going into an area where the fellas, who were considerably older than I was, maybe 5, 6, 8 years older, and they were being paid $125 a month, with the top billing clerk, I think he was paid $135. So I had to be assigned to the position. I was told that they tried to get my salary increased to that extent, but it was said that I was too young to get into that area. So they gave me a $25 a month increase and made me at the figure of $75 a month. Well, this was very sizable. After all, it was a 50% increase. And money didn't really matter that much to me. But the increase, of course, was in the envelope, and again, taking it home to Graham's, and I remember she would give me $2, which was sufficient to for car fare and for lunches, and I'd still have some money left over. Well, again, as I say, money was not a very important factor at that stage of life. But that was the beginning of what I referred to often as the inequities of life. It had happened again through the years in whatever fashion. But I remember being told one time by a boss of mine to whom I owe a great deal, and this all goes back maybe 30, 35 years ago, and I remember him telling me one time, he says, "Jim," he said, he said, "you should always do your best on the job. Oh, there'll be times when people around you might be making more money, and they're less responsible than yourself. But he said, just don't worry about it, because, if your present employer is not satisfied or doesn't think enough to bring you to the level of wages that you should be gotten," he said, "there'll be others come along and seek you out." Well, that became somewhat embedded in memory, and I had forgotten about it. And, well, my years at Panama Pacific, I could sit here again for hours talking about it. I was with them from 1926 until 1937. So, no, excuse me, it wasn't 1926, it was 1928 to 37, a period of roughly 9 years. Very happy with life, no responsibilities, making enough money to make a contribution to the family. Well, life was just fine. I was just a kid, as most teenagers, at least at that time, belonging to a club, an athletic club, and being able to play basketball, football, baseball, anything that came along, and no responsibility. So my wages were not that much of a factor. But in 1934, there were a group of us who used to drink beer together, one of them being Ray Biedenbender, and there were a number of couples supposed to get together on New Year's Eve in 1934, and I was told to get a date. Well, I didn't know anybody, and I was always too bashful in front of girls, and so I remember it was Christmas Eve. He called me at work. He said, "Hey, got a date yet?" I said, "No." He said, "I'll get you one." So I get you one with my cousin. I said, "Well, fine, sure." Well, New Year's Eve, 1934, I was told to report to Beanie and Marie O'Hanlon's